Hey everybody, this is Bernie from Dry Creek Homestead. And so just wanted to tell everybody hi, and I want to talk a little bit tonight about uh, what happened in Moore County, North Carolina. But I don't really want to go into who did what or whatever like that. But what I'd like to talk about is how everybody seemed unprepared for an event such as, everybody was surprised at how they lost power. But when you lose power, okay, so they were shut down for basically Saturday to Thursday, and it basically shut their whole county down. So they can't, they close the schools because they don't have heat, because they don't have electricity in the schools, so they don't have any heat. The gas stations can't pump gas. There is one place I saw on one of the news reports where there's a propane provider that's actually able to fill up diesel fuel for the emergency vehicles and all that. So it's kind of eye-opening experience on how unprepared average people are when it comes to an event like that. Now, hopefully, that's a very rare event where somebody goes and shoots up a substation or on purpose or whatever. But we always have storms. Even if you didn't have somebody shooting up a substation, you still have storms that knock power out. There's a million reasons why power can go out. And a power outage shouldn't, we should be prepared enough that a power outage is just a minor inconvenience. But the problem that we have nowadays is that a lot of people don't have the life skills necessary to survive something like that, because it's 30 degrees there. They're just south of Fayetteville, North Carolina, from what I understand of the geography. And so the first night they didn't have electricity, it was 30 degrees that night. Now, if you don't have a wood burning fireplace, and even people that did have wood burning fireplaces, how many of them had firewood actually they could burn in their fireplace to stay warm? And so, we've lost a lot of those problem solving and life skills. Things that would have been commonplace, we call prepping nowadays. Like when I was growing up, and I grew up in Iowa, in southwest Iowa, we always had 2 weeks worth of food in a pantry because we knew at some point we were going to have an ice storm or a snowstorm and we wouldn't be able to get to town for a couple weeks. Uh, but we didn't call that prepping, we just called that life. But nowadays we don't do that sort of stuff. In the flip of a switch, their lives changed. And so they had no heat, they had no water because everything runs off electricity. They had no sewage disposal. They couldn't go get gas for their cars. They couldn't run to the store to get groceries. Even if stores were open, uh, most people don't carry cash anymore. They use a debit card or a credit card to buy their groceries. So, in the flick of a switch, their lives changed. And we should hopefully use this not as something to get scared and worried about, but it's something to learn from, a lesson to learn from. Uh, because those types of things will go on. Not necessarily somebody shooting up a substation, but there's going to continue to be storms. There will be continue to be trees falling on power lines because they don't take care of the right of ways. That seems to be the biggest cause of power outages around here. Now, usually those power outages are short. They're not long duration like this, but they can be, and so you need to be somewhat prepared. And so, uh, what are some things you could do? Say you don't have a fireplace to heat your house and you lose power. How do you stay warm? What are some things that you can do? Okay, well, bundle up, obviously, and get blankets. And it's kind of miserable to be shivering all the time. So, but they also have propane heaters now that are safe to run inside a home. They're ventless. I would not put them on carpet, but you can put those in your house and maybe at least keep one room kind of warm. Uh, you know, if you got gas enough in your car, you can go out and start your car up and warm up for a few minutes in your car. There's just a number of different things. You have to be able to problem solve. You have to be your own 911 because, as history has shown through the many different natural disasters that have happened in the U.S. via hurricanes or whatever else, the U.S. government sucks at being able to come and help you. And it doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. They're all. You have to be able to fend for yourself. You have to take responsibility for yourself and your family. And you have to learn those skills that will save you. Because most people in the U.S. have not ever had to be in a situation where your survival depended on your ability to be able to problem solve uh, different things, to be able to get through a cold night, or not being able to cook on your stove because your stove is electric. Then how do you cook? How do you feed yourself? How do you feed your family? So people should just kind of use this as, okay, what happened? What can I do to learn some of these skills and make it to where if you lose power for 2 weeks, it's a minor inconvenience. It's not a life threatening ordeal, and because that's what it is for some of those folks. They lost their power. They're probably sitting at home. All of a sudden, the power goes out, and we've all been there. And we're like, well, I'm not even going to call it in to the power company because probably somebody already did. And then it goes on for an hour, and then it goes on for an hour, and then you call the power company and you listen through their automated system, and you find out it's not just you that's got the power outage, it's all these people. Because from what I understand, when the first people started losing power, it wasn't 40,000. I know it's like 40,000 people that went without power, but it wasn't 40,000 at first. It kind of cascaded a little bit from what I understand of different news reports. So it didn't start big. It ended up big, but it didn't start big. So, but, we don't know how to live without electricity. We're used to being able to turn on TV and watch a TV show or a movie or something. We're used to being able to charge our phones and watch stuff on YouTube or uh, do whatever on our phones, get instant information. And when you lose access to that, it's big change. And we get addicted to these electronics. And when you don't have them, for a couple of hours, you get kind of grumpy. And then after that, it's, well, this really sucks, And so you need to kind of prepare yourself for that. And so maybe you need a backup generator, but a backup generator in their situation, their entire county is out of power. So they don't even have gasoline that they can go get. So you got to have gas stored for that generator, or they're still able to go to the next county over, but do they have enough gas in their car to drive to the next county over to get gas for a generator or even their vehicle? And can they pay for that? Because if their bank is in the county and the power is out in the county, even if they drive next to the next county over, will their card still work even though there's power there? If their bank doesn't have electricity and those computer servers are down because their bank doesn't have electricity, is their debit card going to work? So you need some cash on hand. You need food, and I'm not talking about just beans and rice. When you're prepping food, and I don't really we don't really, I'd say we don't prep. We grow our own food. We put up and can, but you don't want to just have rice and beans, because that's going to get old and it's going to make a bad situation worse, especially if you don't like rice and beans. So have some stuff on hand that you like, some sweets if you like sweets, or chocolate or whatever. Uh, if all you have is a bunch of bottled water saved up, do you have some tea that you can put in the bottled water, or some Kool-Aid flavorings to make it different? So just things that will make life not as bad, because like I said, getting over that initial shock of losing electricity, you know, can be hard for a lot of people. And then too, you if you're on medications, you gotta have. It's nice to have a supply of medications. If you have a CPAP machine, and this is where it gets really bad, because people can lose their life with no power if they have medical devices that require electricity to run. So in those cases, you should definitely have a backup some way, even if it's just a small backup gasoline generator. But then make sure you have extra gas for that generator. And then, the I guess the creme de la creme would be a solar system. But if it happens and there's no sunshine, and your solar system's not going to work, or not going to work as well. They usually do even work on a cloudy day, but they won't be as efficient. And so you need to think about all these things. And like I said, we just kind of need to get back to the basics of life. And, you know, once you learn these problem solving skills, you need to teach them to your kids, so they know how to handle a situation where they wouldn't have power or wouldn't have access to 911. You make sure that they know how to survive too, not just you. And like I said, I wouldn't sit there and worry about it constantly. That's why you would prep, so you don't have to worry about it. When it comes. Okay, it sucks because there's no power, but it's not a life-threatening issue because you have prepared. So it's just a little bit of a level of insurance in case something like that happens. And it's possible that it's going to happen more. That there's an article I read in Bloomberg that said a quarter of the U.S. is at risk of blackouts this winter due to shortfalls in natural gas and coal. So if we get a real bad cold spell, that is a problem. And I think the line was from Texas straight up to the Great Lakes and over to the east. So that whole half of the country or better is at risk of power outages if we get a real nasty cold spell. So it's not a bad idea to be prepped up a little bit and have some some ways. If you don't have a wood burning stove in your house, and there's some times where it's just not feasible to install a wood burning stove in your house, just make sure you have some way to heat at least one room so you're not quite as miserable. Or uh, have a backup generator that you can run a furnace blower on if you've got a propane or natural gas furnace, because even in a power outage, a lot of those furnaces will run on a little backup generator. Air conditioning is a little bit different because air conditioning requires a lot more power, so you'd have to have an even bigger generator. But just have some way of heating your home, because more people die in cold than die in heat. And so that's what I would say. And just use this as a learning experience. Go on there and kind of watch some of these interviews of these people that have lost their electricity, and it's just crippled them. And so learn from this what you should have on hand and what you can do for yourself. That way you're prepared if it happens. And I wouldn't be prepared. They're going to be without for almost, I guess it's not 7 days. I guess it's like five days. But be prepared for 14 days without power, and just use that as a start. That way you're not at risk of dying just because we lost electricity for a couple weeks. So it can happen. This should prove that it can happen. Uh, and nobody really wants it to happen, but it does. So you just need to be prepared for that, and take that into account for whenever you're buying stuff, and just kind of looking at what you would do in a case of a grid down situation, even though it's just local or regional, because I bet there's quite a few people that had their cars on empty and may not have been able to drive to the next county to get gas because they just didn't have enough on it or in the tank. So just look at all these things, and check your situation out, and just make sure that you're prepared, and that you can not only help yourself but maybe help a neighbor if they're in need. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.